Tonight on the final word, damage in parts of Mindanao after a magnitude 6.8 earthquake hit waters off Sarangani, Davao Occidental early this afternoon. In Matina Town in Davao City, debris from a construction crane crashed from the top of the building due to intense tremors. People inside the mall in Davao hid under tables, with others rushing for the exits. The Philippine Red Cross also reported some students fainted in a school in General Santos City. Power has been out in Sarangani province since this afternoon. PHIVOX warned of possible aftershocks but clarified there's no sign of a tsunami in affected areas. Let's get updates now from National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council Deputy Spokesperson Mark Timbal. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. What more can you tell us on the other areas which have been badly hit by the earthquake?
Thank you, Sir Rico, for having me, and good evening to all. Currently, the Operations Center of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council is blue alert following this earthquake incident in Sarangani. We were able to monitor initially a power outage report in General Santos and Lebac in Sultan Kudarat in Region 12. We also received a preliminary report of one dead person, one fatality in Barangay Butuan, Jose Abad Santos in Davao Occidental, but our civil defense officials as well as local government disaster managers are still validating this information. We also received preliminary report of damaged houses in Sarangani province, and there are also reports of a damaged school in Sarangani, and then no reported damage in the Bangsamoro as of this point. And the earthquake was also felt in that area, Sir Rico.
Mark, what about damage to shopping centers and malls? We've seen some pictures on social media regarding this.
That's correct, sir. We also received information about those damages sustained by the private establishments, but we're still waiting for the official report coming from our counterparts, the local government. We're seeing that in social media, and we're encouraging our counterparts in those business organizations to report these incidents to their local government units. We're also advising everyone that since there is a threat of a possibility of an aftershock, everyone should continue being vigilant, and they can stay at the designated open spaces so that in case an aftershock does happen, they can avoid being hit by falling debris.
So, Mark, when are we likely to find out and have some clarity on the number of homes and buildings that have been damaged by this earthquake?
Well, the priority, Sir Rico, is for our responders to actually assist those affected residents. But we're hoping that in the morning, following the continuing operations, we will be receiving more numbers coming from their reports as they report to their local disaster managers, sir.
And Mark, we've seen reports of possible tsunami in coastal areas in Sarangani. Have you received any information on this as well?
What we have, sir, is the notice coming from the Philippine Institute for Volcanology and Seismology that there is no tsunami threat as of this time. We will continue to monitor the situation in case there will be changes. But if there are any threats, we can assure the residents and the local government units that they will be receiving the warnings in advance.
All right. Apart from the warnings, is the national government already helping the local governments in need in these badly hit areas?
The President Bongbong Marcos, as well as Defense Secretary Gilbert Chidoro, had already issued instructions for the Office of Civil Defense and the regional offices to ready the supplies that will be needed by the local government units in case they would be requiring augmentation. So far at this time, it's the local government units that are leading the operations on the ground, sir. But we have communicated to them our readiness at the national and regional level to provide support anytime.
And what is the power situation in the areas affected by this earthquake?
As a precautionary measure, sir, usually these power outages are being done following an earthquake emergency. an assessment is required before power returns to ensure that there will be no further accidents involving electrocution as well as fire hazards. We will be there. There are multiple communities that have reported power outages. We're confident that the local power cooperatives are on the scene, inspecting their lines this evening, so to be able to ascertain whether they can return power at as soon as possible time.
Which particular cities and communities still don't have power, Mark?
We haven't received information on the return of power in General Santos City and Lebac in Sultan Kudarat, sir. Once we receive information that the local power cooperative has resumed operations in those areas, we will be reporting that. But again, as a precautionary measure, they are doing the inspections first before returning these power services.
Apart from power, what about the water situation in these affected areas?
We have not received any report of the interruption of water services in the area, sir. So hopefully there's just minimal interruption in the services, but maybe later tonight or this morning we'll be receiving a more detailed report on these lifeline services, water, communication, as well as electricity.
And the homes and the buildings that have been damaged by this earthquake, are officials round the clock checking if there are any casualties or injuries?
That's correct, sir. Civil defense officials as well as local government officials and disaster managers are on the scene. They're doing their rounds in their areas of jurisdiction to check on, number one, the stability of current existing structures in their area, those that have been affected by the earthquake, as well as the status of hospitals who are assisting those who have been injured. This examination of these areas will also include the counting of affected families, affected persons, possible casualties, as well as the number of houses that may have been affected. We're encouraging the residents of living in those affected houses or those owners of buildings that had sustained damages to report this to the local authorities so that this can be included in the ongoing operational report for this.
You mentioned about the evacuation centers. Would you know how many families are in key evacuation centers in these affected areas?
At this time, sir, that number is still being collected by our counterparts at the local government unit. But in these cases, an earthquake emergency, we're not encouraging people to stay indoors or to stay inside the evacuation structures. The designated open spaces for earthquake emergencies are the places that they should stay while waiting for an engineering assessment on the structural stability of their buildings. The assistance that will be provided by our local counterparts will include emergency tents for them to stay under while waiting for the results of those structural assessments.
Do you have also initial results, Mark, on how many people were rushed to hospitals?
At this time, sir, we don't have those details yet. What we're seeing are bits and pieces of images of people being taken out of buildings, being brought to hospitals because they have suffered injuries, possibly from falling debris. We're getting in touch with the hospital administrators and our disaster managers on the ground to be able to ascertain the number of these injured parties, sir.
For sure, there'll be more clarity on the numbers over the next several hours, as we enter the morning in the area.
That's correct, sir. The operation is still continuing tonight, and maybe before midnight or after midnight, early tomorrow morning, we'll have more numbers to report.
Mark, thank you so much for that update. National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council Deputy Spokesperson Mark Timbal.